Okay, so we've got a beautiful bright sunny day as you can see in the Highlands, and I've got the Syma X56W. Comes in a pretty natty little box there. Comes in a couple of flavours. You can either have it in white or black, and it just seems to have the one camera at the moment that I can see. You've got the one with or without the Wi-Fi system on the camera as well there, because you've got the one without the W, or I've got the one with the W. So it's a very similar looking design, I must admit, and I've actually gone in and got this. This is the TKKJ. I think this is the L600 one here, virtually exactly the same. I'm pretty sure the molds are pretty much the same throughout. The whole design is very, very similar. The only difference is on this one you can actually pull it out without pressing the button to release the arms, and they advise you on this with this little sticker here that you should press the button before opening it, and that, yeah, they really won't, the arms won't come out without it. So like I say, nice looking little quad, quite nice and foldable, but when they fold out, they actually become quite nice, big, reasonable sized machines. There we go. So you simply hold down the button there to release the little pin, and then pull it open, and then once it's locked in position, it won't go back in. So again, you must press the buttons, and its front one's out first of all, back one's out second, and then when you fold them back up, you must put the back ones in first of all, otherwise the front ones won't tuck into their position. Then, like I say, you get a sort of reasonable size quad. Like I say, virtually identical to that in all ways. Got a modular camera system, so I expect they'll bring out bigger cameras or a different design, or perhaps even have a micro SD card on them. This is a Wi-Fi version, so this one doesn't have that on. And the lens is a little tiny lens. I think it's a 0.3 megapixel, but I'll do that when we actually get some flight footage from it, and I'll put down the actual size it does record at. And you could tilt the camera angle just very slightly up, or more or less level I would say, and then it just points down a few degrees, about 30 odd degrees I would have thought. So I quite like that. I like the pointing down a bit. It's nice for selfies and things, and that's really what this thing's aimed at. You've got battery bay area there. Use a little Phillips screwdriver that they give you, undo that, and then you can pop the battery in. You've got a JST connector on the actual battery, and this is 850 milliamp hour, and this one is a single cell as well, so I'll pop that in just before we get going. You've got a USB charger with a massive amount of cable on it. Usually it's about that long, and this one's hellishly long, so I've left it all wrapped up as they've done it. And that will charge with a mains adapter, like for your phone or something or other, or you could use your laptop or a power bank. I tend to use if I'm out and about. I find them quite useful. You get a spare set of props with it as well, and the props are really flexible, as you can see, seriously flexible props, so they're not really going to do any damage. But if you are new to flying, I do suggest you pop the prop guards on. They simply go on there, and pop a little screw into there as well, and then you're fully protected. And again, it makes it into quite a brute of a size of a machine. You get the little screws as well there. You get a little pack of screws just to screw them in. The Phillips screwdriver, you could strip the whole thing down, but I wouldn't imagine you would really need to. And looking just in there in the clear plastic, they're plug and play motors, so that's pretty good. You've got a phone holder if you want for the FPV, and pop that on the top there, and then all the controls are done on your phone for the camera. If you're new to flying, I suggest you get out and have a flight. Don't bother putting the phone on or anything else, just literally learn how to fly and enjoy flying line of sight, then move on to the FPV stuff, is the way I would do it. It's the way I started actually as well. You need 4 AA batteries in the back here, and it doesn't come with those. That's about all it doesn't come with, and obviously it doesn't come with a phone either. And the app is the Syma app, and it works on Android and on Apple as well. The transmitter is a toy grade or entry grade one. It's a bit sort of shiny in areas, and it's got that sort of plasticky feel to it, as you'd expect at this price point. This is not an expensive quad, and I'll put links and any discount codes and things I can find down in description. One thing about the batteries is I love it when they're these sort of batteries, because there's loads of different ones that will fit in this battery bay area, and the JST connector's brilliant, so you can actually buy sort of half a dozen of them really cheap, and I put links in there for that as well. The transmitter is, like I say, it's altitude hold, so this stick stays level. To run through the actual controls, this is your throttle, so you push that up and it will take off. It will go upwards, sorry. Let go of it and it will come to a level position on your sticks. It will be level in altitude, not in position. There's no GPS or optical flow system on this one. This one does actually have an optical flow system to keep it in position, but TKKJ also do ones without them on. It's up to you, and I'll put a link down in the description so you can have a look at the full review I did on that one. So if there's a bit of a breeze, which we've got this afternoon, it will drift in the breeze. If it's a dead still day and everything and it's starting to drift around, first thing first, I would calibrate it. And what you must do there is put it on somewhere level, pull the 2 sticks down to the right, you get flashing LEDs, and that calibrates the gyro. That usually sorts out any trim issues that I've ever had with this sort of level of quad. If not, you've got the trim adjustment buttons here. That's these two and this one as well. This button doesn't do anything at all, and they just sliders, so they just click there. These are all fake. They're just on there just for I don't know, because that's the sort of stock way of doing it. And as you see, they don't even go up and down. You've got your flip button on this side, so you press that and then you choose the direction of flip, and the quad will do a complete flip over, and we'll have a quick play with that in a minute. And then you've got your speed settings here, and it just does high and low rates here. As I was saying, so that's your throttle. Push it up, it goes up, and stops at a level. When you bring it back to center stick, pull it down, it will come down. Push it to the right and it will rotate to the right. That's called yawing. Push it to the left and it will rotate or yaw to the left. And then this stick is for your direction. So we go push that forward, and it's the front of the quad is going forwards, backwards, and that's called pitching back and forwards. And then we've got rolling to the right and rolling to the left. Now that's the orientation of the quad. So if the quad's facing towards me and I press forwards, it will come forward straight towards me. This is the way I fly. I find it a lot easier. I'm just used to it. But there is something on here called headless mode. And for headless mode, you press this one down here. Just give that a quick press, and that will turn this into headless mode. So if we're bound up all facing that way, pop it into headless mode. If the quad's facing in any direction, it doesn't matter. If I push forward, forward is always away from me. Back is towards me, right and left, and these aren't points of the compass, so if I go at a slight angle, it will go at a slight angle. You can be spinning the quad and still going in one direction, which you can't do really in normal flight mode, but I've never found a use for that, to be honest. But that's sort of, you know, something you can do in headless mode if that sort of floats your boat, to be honest. That button also is the return to home, so if we hold that down, it will then go to return to home, and it won't actually come back to this spot. I'll show you, because there's no GPS on it, it doesn't actually know this is home, so it will just come back in a direction. I wouldn't tend to use it, I must admit. This one here is your auto takeoff and auto land, so simply press it in, you can hear it click hopefully. That will start the motors and pop it up to about 1 meter, and then you start flying. If you press that again, it will start to descend, but you can choose what direction or an area that you want to move it to actually land on. Once the quads come down on something level and stop going down, the motors will stop automatically. You can also start this one, the motors, prime them by doing that with it, or you can actually just flick the throttle up and that will put them into idle mode, and then you can take off. But I'll show you all these when we actually get out on the flight. With this particular model, it does recommend you turn on the quad first of all, so you just have to hold that down for a couple of seconds. And then you get flashing LEDs, so a little bit of a job to see. And you've got green at the front, red at the back, and there's a little blue one flashing inside there as well. They are reasonably bright though, you can actually see them even in this very bright light. Then we turn on the transmitter, and the LEDs stop flashing. It's an auto bind system, so there we go, just to show you that. I don't think I'll be able to show you as I calibrate it, but I'm going to put it on somewhere level. Oh yeah, you might be able to see that as the little LEDs there. So I'm going to put both the sticks down and to the right, and then you get flashing LEDs, and then that means that's calibrated the gyro. Don't move it while you're doing it, and do make sure it's sat on somewhere level as well when you do it. In here we've got hardly any sort of information at all. It does just tell you how much stick information you're giving it, and also it tells you the actual signal strength, and also your battery condition of the batteries that you've popped in the transmitter. It's got no way of telling how much battery you've got in the actual quad itself. Onto the app itself, and before we do that, you need to go onto your Wi-Fi settings, and then you need to connect up to it. What it's done is set up a Wi-Fi hotspot, and all we're going to do is log on to that Wi-Fi hotspot. You don't need to be near any other Wi-Fi hotspots, and it doesn't use any of your data roaming. It's purely a link between the quadcopter and your phone. Come back to your home page, and then go onto the Syma Go app. And you've got your help instructions here. They are all in Chinese to start with. Just simply press this if you're English, and then it actually runs through the app really well. It does explain it pretty good actually, so if you're new to it. If not, I'm going to cover everything here anyway. Going to press start. Oh, we're live straight away, so it's nice and quick. Well, that's not too bad. That's quite seems quite all right. I'm not expecting great things from the camera, but I'll show it as it is. That's the way I do the reviews. I've done a video on how to fly using an app, and I'll put a link down in the description for you. Because we're flying it on the transmitter, we're not going to use the app. You just simply go down the bottom here, and then you can turn off these controls so they don't confuse and they don't actually get in the way either. And then to record video, we simply press this one. To take stills, we press this one. I'm going to pop that out of the way. Here we are, and we're recording. So there we go. Just pop the throttle up a wee bit, and it just goes into idle. And the wind breeze is quite strong in the garden. So there we go. So this is in low rates. Right, it's quite a gentle flyer. Like I say, it's quite a big quad once it actually sort of fully out. I do quite like the red props on it actually. They identify it really nicely. Oh, that's really quite slow into the wind. Slight wind, it's a slight breeze. And that puts it up into high rates, so that's a bit better. There we go. So, well, the camera is going to struggle in this very contrasty lighting conditions today. Really bright. I'm not complaining about it being bright and contrasty there. No complaint there at all. Let's try a quick flip with it. So simply press this one here. Also, you have to hold it down and press it. I forgot that. There we go. So simply hold that, put the direction stick in where you want to go, and it just does a quick flip if that's your sort of thing. Like I say, the attitude hold's working really well. And the breeze has just stopped actually, so it's pretty good. But the breeze is just literally just going to move it like that, and like you see, it's just keeping going. So the headless mode I was telling you about, so let's pop it into there. So simply got to press this one, and then away from me is forward, backwards, left and right, and this is because I bound it up this way. And as you can see, we've now got flashing LEDs. So I can rotate it and still push it away from me if I like. There we go. I don't really see any sense in headless mode. I've never ever used it for anything, I don't think. I just demonstrate it. So let's try the return to home. So I'm going to turn off the headless mode, and the LEDs have stopped flashing. I'm going to press that down, and there we go. Return to home is over there somewhere or other. So like I say, if you flew it that way, it would just come back this way. But if you're over that way at all, it will just keep going that way. It's not, return to home, it really isn't any good. I'll show you here. There we go. It's just going over there. So to cancel it, just use your direction stick. To land, like I say, you can either just bring it into land, there we go, it takes a couple of seconds. It's not like landing on the ground. When you catch it in your hand, there's a little bit of spring in your hand. The other way of landing is you can use the auto land on, which I'll show you. Let me just swap hands there, and I'll just show you how we can just auto take off as well. So simply press that. There you go. I'm not touching anything here, that just went up by itself. And you can simply press this one and bring it into land as well. Again, you could catch it, or you could just move it around, or give it a bit of throttle and it will just cancel it. Let's just quickly stop that and do a little selfie while the breeze is not catching it too much. I'm not expecting much off the camera, I must admit. I like the ones that are sort of the 2 megapixel ones. They seem a bit better to me anyway. And I'm just going to do a quick range test. Let's pop the video back on. And the video is recording back to the phone. There's no onboard storage, as I said. Now I know my garden really well, and I know if I go from here down to the bottom there, it's going to be about 80 meters. Just going to go down nice and slow to see how long that FPV holds for. Also the wind will catch it as well. Whoa, it's doing pretty well. So the wind caught that. Now this is where you have to be nice to your neighbours. Oh yeah, that wind's quite strong down here, as you can see. I hadn't seen that coming, sorry. My mistake. Pilot error. Okay, retrieve from the tree, no problem at all. Neighbour's still speaking to me, so that's good. Actually, I've come down this end because I can actually stand in the shade. You see the LEDs. I'm going to fly it up there because there's less wind up there, and I've actually got more control over it. That was just purely the wind caught it, nothing else. It always starts in low rate. I've just rebooted it just to make sure nothing's wrong. And again, we're just about... Oh, that's pretty good. That's good 50 meters. Yeah, it's still holding. Oh, that's just on 80 meters there. So that is pretty good actually. And the FPV held as well, so it's nice. Whoop. There we go, and bringing it back in. Oh, you can see that wind catching it now. Well, that's fine. The yawing is a little bit rapid on the, when it's in high rates. It is controllable, and that is purely wind catching that. I didn't give it any stick input at all. You can see by the quad tilting whether or not I'm giving it stick input, and that's no stick input again. So you can see the wind just catching it. It would catch anything that hasn't got a position hold system on it. So it's nothing wrong with the actual quad. It's just quite normal. I actually like flying in the wind. I find it quite challenging and good fun. So there we go. I'm going to drop that down. I'm just going to swap it now back over. So we're just going to fly on the app. Everything seems pretty good on it actually. And the other way of landing is just purely to bring that down and land it on the ground, and then obviously it will kill the motors as well. So I'm actually going to turn off the transmitter. And we should have flashing LEDs. Yep, we have. So even though the app's on and all running, I'll just stop that video as well. We've got flashing LEDs because it's not actually, we haven't got any control, so we're not actually in control of the quad. So simply pop those on. The LEDs have stopped flashing and we're ready to go. The LEDs will flash also when the battery's low as well. Got loads of different things on here, and I've covered all of these in a separate video on how to fly using an app, and I'll put a link down in the description for you. Going to do the auto takeoff. Simply press this one and up and away it goes, and the controls are the same as before. So we've got left and right, and I think on this app you can probably even change them so it goes to it can swap to mode 1 flight, which means the throttle's on the right. Whoops, that's operator error, not looking. You can also fly this on the gyro of your phone. Whoop. Oh, it's got a little bit of whoop. I'm here. A little bit of Highlands there for it. So I'm actually tilting the phone, and that's it. Moving, it goes the way that I'm tilting the phone. Grandkids like this. I actually quite like it now as well. I've sort of got into it. We've got high and low rates as well, so we put that up into high rates. Let me just give it a bit of throttles, and there we go. Now we're much better. And what I do with the kids is I actually get them to turn, otherwise it gets a bit confusing, so I get them to turn with the way the quad is flying as well. Where I sort of fly quite a bit, I don't find it any difficulty doing it this way. But as it says that, and you watch something go wrong now. You've got headless mode on this as well, and you've got something called a mission planner thing, something that I really don't like. So literally it just will do whatever instruction you've given it. So there we go. Whoop. I don't like it. I don't see any sense in it. It doesn't do it for me, I'm afraid. But I know some people like it and sort of think it's quite good. You've got your video controls as well, obviously. And it's quite a narrow field of view on that camera. It's not a wide angle by any means. Saying about the camera, let's just bring that into land. Let's just pop the camera angle down so you can just see how far down it goes. It doesn't go an awful long way. Let's just start that video again. There we go. Actually, the FPV's not been bad. I've had worse, had better as well. I would suggest you go and have a look at the other reviews that I've done of this style of quad. If this is what you're after, I'll put links down in the description for you, and then you can actually see which one you prefer. Yeah, so there we go. Like I say, the sort of angle down is usually not too bad. The only thing I would say with it is it's such a narrow field of view, you'd have to fly it quite a way back anyway. You'd probably again get a good 30 meters on it, and I'm a little bit nervous it's going to catch that wind there. Oh no, we're doing all right. No, it's catching it. Yeah, no, it's really catching the wind. So. Yeah, well, that's easy 30 meters, no problem at all. And the FPV was holding up for the sort of 80 meters, wasn't it, which was good. Yeah, nice little fly. Like I say, you got the headless mode on here as well, so just pop that into headless. Got the flashing LEDs. So even if I rotate the quad, forward is still forward that way, back, right and left, and anywhere in between. I'm going to pop it out of headless, LEDs will stop flashing, so we'll get a good long flight time out of it. There we go, so we've got flashing LEDs now, which are showing that the battery level is getting low. And you should bring it in and land, it probably won't last that much longer. There we go, I thought it had just about finished there. So I'll just literally run the battery out. I don't recommend you do this. I recommend as soon as you get the flashing LEDs, you bring it in and land. But I always like to see on a full review just to see whether or not it's actually going to give me much flight time. Some of the other quads, like the bugs and stuff like that, you get almost double the flight time with them. So it's always interesting just to see what we get. And in high rates, it's quite, the yaw is quite rapid. You can control it, but it's you have to be very careful with it. And that wasn't that bad when I was actually using the transmitter. It's just the app. We'll drop it down into low rates. It's much smoother. Yeah, that's coming into land now. Given that full throttle, it's doing nothing. So. And you do have a stop button up the top here as well. So there we go. What did I think of it? Well, I quite like it actually. I'll put links in the description to all the other ones I've done that are similar to this. Go and check those out. And they're smaller folding quads as well, or smaller quads. They are nice flyers, these ones, because they've got a nice big area. They're nice and safe because you've got the flexible props as well, which is really good. Transmitter worked well, and yeah, the range, once I tested it from the other end, after I'd done my durability test of how well it copes hitting a neighbour's tree, which I've just put in for you, I'll spoil you on the channel, I know I do. I just sort of give it another go from down the bottom, and it flew the 80 metres no problem, and the FPV was still working as well. The screen isn't the best in the world, and the angle of view is quite narrow. That's quite normal on these sort of things. It's really a beginner quad or someone who just wants to pack one away with them. Nice thing I like about it is the app works really well. You can fly equally as well on the app as the transmitter, I would say, so you don't have to take the transmitter with you. But I must admit, nothing beats actually having sticks for controls rather than just using your thumbs. I still prefer, if I had a choice, I would always use a proper transmitter, much better. So I'll put links in the description, as I said. Hope you've enjoyed the review, and I'll see you on the next one.